जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा, कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा। जय कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम, कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय निताय गौरंग जय निताय गौरंग, निताय गौरंग जय निताय गौरंग। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र शतश्री श्रीमद् हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिला प्रभुपाद की, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्-भागवतम की, ताई गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 4, Text number 13. Right verse. Sudama Vipraprabhu, 13, right? Tat sarvam naha samachakshva तत्सर्वं नः समाचक्ष्व पृष्ठः यत् इह किंचन पृष्ठो यदिह किंचन मन्ये त्वां विषये वाचां, मन्ये त्वां विषये वाचां स्नातम् अन्यत्र छान्दसात्, स्नातम् अन्यत्र छान्दसात् तत्सर्वं नः समाचक्ष्व पृष्ठो यदिह किंचन मन्ये त्वां विषये वाचां स्नातम् अन्यत्र छान्दसात् तत्सर्वं नः समाचक्ष्व पृष्ठो यदिह किंचन मन्ये त्वां विषये वाचां स्नातम् अन्यत्र छान्दसात् तत्सर्वं नः समाचक्ष्व पृष्ठो यदिह किंचन मन्ये त्वां विषये वाचां Snatam anyatra chandasat. Tatsarvam nah samachakshva. Ishto yadiha kinchana. Manye tvam vishaye vacham. Anyatra chandasat. Ram samachakshva. Yadiha kinchana. Tvam vishaye vacham. Anyatra chandasat. Tatsarvam nah samachakshva. Vrishto yadiha kinchana. Netvam vishaye vacham. Snatam anyatra chandasat. Tatsarvam nah samachakshva. Vrishto yadiha kinchana. Manye tvam vishaye vacham. Snatam anyatra chandasat. Tatsarvam nah samachakshva. Vrishto yadiha kinchana. Manye tvam vishaye vacham. Snatam anyatra chandasat. Tat, that. Sarvam, all. Naha, unto us. Samachakshva, clearly explain. Prishtaha, questioned. Yad iha, herein. Kinchana, all that. Manye, we think. Tvam, you. Vishaye, in all subjects. Vacham, meanings of words. Snatam, fully acquainted. Anyatra, except. Chandasat, portion of the Vedas. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charnarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects except some portion of the Vedas, and thus you can clearly explain the answers to all the questions we have just put to you. Please repeat. We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects except some portion of the Vedas, and thus you can clearly explain the answers to all the questions we have just put to you. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The difference between the Vedas and the Puranas is like that between the Brahmanas and the Parivrajakas. The Brahmanas are meant to administer some fruitive sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas. But the Parivrajakacharyas or learned preachers are meant to disseminate transcendental knowledge to one and all. As such, the Parivrajakacharyas are not always expert in pronouncing the Vedic mantras, which are practiced systematically by accent and meter by the Brahmanas, who are meant for administering Vedic rites. Yet it should not be considered that the Brahmanas are more important than the itinerant preachers. They are one and different simultaneously because they are meant for the same end in different ways. There is no difference also between the Vedic mantras and what is explained in the Puranas and Itihasa. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, it is mentioned in the Madhyandina Shruti that all the Vedas, namely the Sama, Atharva, Rig, Yajur, Puranas, Itihasas, Upanishads, etc., are emanations from the breathing of the Supreme Being. The only difference is that the Vedic mantras mostly begin with Pranama Omkara, and that it requires some training to practice the metrical pronunciation of the Vedic mantras. But that does not mean that Srimad-Bhagavatam is of less importance than the Vedic mantras. On the contrary, it is the ripened fruit of all the Vedas, as stated before. Besides that, the most perfectly liberated soul, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, is absorbed in the studies of the Bhagavatam, although he is already self-realized. Srila Suta Goswami is following his footsteps, and therefore his position is not less important because he was not expert in chanting Vedic mantras with metric pronunciation, which depends more on practice than actual realization. Realization is more important than parrot-like chanting. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Nilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This chapter, appearance of Shri Narada Muni, Shaunaka Rishi, after congratulating his spiritual master, who was his spiritual master? Shaunaka Rishi's spiritual master was Suta Goswami, who is the speaker of Srimad-Bhagavatam for the second time. He has already heard entire Srimad-Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami, who was 16-year-old boy. You may be wondering, 16-year-old boy, is he licensed to give classes Srimad-Bhagavatam? 16-year-old boy was so self-realized that his own father, Srila Vyasadeva Muni, was sitting in his class. Sometimes some of the devotees join the temple and their parents come to attend the program. They are also devotees. And then they will be hearing their own son's Bhagavatam class. So, unique situation. So, here it denotes that age is not a criteria for speaking or reciting Srimad-Bhagavatam. And the speaker need not be well versed in metric pronunciation of the Vedic mantras, perfect chanting with perfect meter, accent, all that is not required. He may not even know the Sanskrit language. What is important is, as Prabhupada says in the purport, realization is more important than parrot-like chanting. So in the assembly of all the great sages, philosophers, munis, kings, where Parikshit Maharaj was inquiring about what is my duty. Especially today, nobody is worried about death. Death is very insignificant. Nobody talks about it. Only spiritualists, they are worried about death because they know death is a preparation for future. If I am going to die, there is something in stock for me. Just like a boy who is searching for a job, if he is very cultured, very educated, he knows I'll go into such post in a company, I'll get lot of salary, I'll be honored, I'll be respected. Whereas I was bunking the classes, I never attended any tuitions, I never prepared for the exam, got hardly any passing marks, not so cultured, not educated. Who will give that person a job? He knows he has to be satisfied with a job like a peon or some gatekeeper, something like that, and he has to live a very humble life. So in material world itself, education promotes a person to a higher status, and when there is no education, Shri Krishna Rukmini Satyabhama ki jai. So when there is no education, that person will be bereft of all the facilities of the material world. Same way, when a person is dying, he should know that there is a future body. Future, I am going to take birth. Srila Prabhupada was mentioning about a professor in London. He was an atheistic person, and then he was thinking there is no life after death. So he gave an explanation that when a flower is bloomed, we take a lot of flowers and we offer to the Lord, we make garlands. When it is offered, after some time, maybe after one day, you remove the garlands, you keep it for 2 more days, it gets rotten and you have to dispose. So that flower which bloomed one day is now finished. So that professor's philosophy was, same way this body, it is bloomed and it will become old and it is finished. So there is no other existence. This body is me, and when the body is finished, everything is done. Prabhupada was counteracting that logic and explaining, how can that be finished? That flower has so many seeds in it. Seeds will never get destroyed. But those seeds are the impetus. Those seeds are the origin for millions and millions of flowers which will also get bloomed one day. So that seed is a common point, and seed will give rise to many, many, many flowers. Similarly, an intelligent person understands there is a seed in every living entity. That seed is eternal, that is the soul, and that soul remains even when the body which is bloomed gets finished. And that seed is implanted, just like the flowered seed has to be sown, it has to be watered, and huge banyan trees are captured in one small seed with that potency of the huge banyan tree to manifest. Same way, the seed is implanted by the father into the womb of the mother, and that's how the child develops its body. So without seed, nothing can exist. Similarly, a learned person or an intelligent person will understand the seed is very, very important. So this gives us to understand, makes us to understand there is another platform called spiritual platform, wherein the concept of birth and death, the science of birth and death is tagged, is linked to something called spirit soul. So this spirit soul is the cause of birth and death. So here Parikshit Maharaj, even though he is the emperor of the world, everything is at his disposal, and he, not being attached to the possessions, he is in his 30s. You know the story of how he was bitten by he was cursed by the young boy Shringi. When Parikshit Maharaj was on a tour, he wanted to practice hunting, and then he went into a cottage. He met an hermitage, and he was meditating. He didn't respond to the call of Parikshit Maharaj. He was thirsty, he wanted some food, and by the will of providence, he got agitated. Generally, he is very cool, very patient. He controls his senses. He's not supposed to get agitated, but at that point he got agitated, and he took a dead snake nearby and put it on the sage's neck. And after hearing this incident, the 12-year-old son of this sage, he came back and he cursed Parikshit Maharaj to die within 7 days, bitten by the same snake. Without reacting, without counteracting the curse, Parikshit Maharaj took that as a blessing in disguise, and he wanted to know now what is his duty, what is he supposed to do for the next 7 days. So he wanted to ask questions, and he went to the bank of Ganges, which is actually Yamuna in Delhi, and he sat down for asking questions, hearing that the great emperor of the world has given up everything, and he has gone to the Ganges to hear and to understand what is the duty of a person who is about to die. Everybody rushed to the spot. Now the Prime Minister of the country, he gives up his post. He goes to Himalayas. Lot of entourage, they'll all follow him. What is he going to do next? He gave up such a prestigious, powerful position as Prime Minister. So Parikshit Maharaj was a born devotee. He used to play with the dolls of Krishna. So his question was, should I continue hearing about Krishna? He asked this question to Shukadeva Goswami. Shukadeva Goswami was not in the picture. He was asking other sages. Shukadeva Goswami also came to know, oh, Parikshit Maharaj has now sat down to hear Bhagavatam. Now let me go to speak Bhagavatam. He was entering the assembly because he was undressed. Some foolish young boys, they thought that some madman is going around, started pelting stones at him. Can you imagine? Such great personality, these boys are throwing stones. Somebody is throwing stones at a dog, is just to drive away is different thing. He's such a great person. So, but when everybody stood up in the assembly, all the great sages, these boys thought, oh, he must be some important man. He's a VIP. Somebody, all these great personalities are standing up, they ran away. So then he took the opportunity to speak Bhagavatam continuously. Sutta Goswami heard. Now he is repeating the same message in Naimisharanya to all the sages there, thousands of sages, as a 1000-year sacrifice. very joyfully enlivened by the presence of Suta Goswami, Shaunaka Rishi, who is the appointed speaker in the assembly, to address Suta Goswami. He's saying, to speak and to recite this Bhagavatam, it's not an ordinary thing. Srila Suta Goswami, oh my dear sir, you are very, very fortunate, you are respected because you are delivering a pious message. Srila Prabhupada said, whenever he heard classes given by his spiritual master in his initial stages, he never understood anything of Bhagavatam. But still, he was attentively trying to hear, what is my spiritual master talking? What is Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur speaking about? Even when Srila Prabhupada spoke about Bhagavad-gita, Bhagavatam, initial times in New York, 26 2nd Avenue, all those hippies and all those American young boys and girls, even they hardly understood. They were telling Srila Prabhupada's accent was Bengali accent, hardly they were able to understand. But they were sitting and hearing. Why? So what happened? This is called the pious message of Bhagavatam. Shrinvatam svakatah Krishna punya shravana kirtanaha hridantastohi abhadrani vidhunoti surutsatam. So whether we understand or not, the vibration, the sound vibration of Bhagavatam, which is non-different from the Vedic mantras, which is non-different from Krishna, if you give attentive oral reception to Srimad-Bhagavatam, the purification in the heart begins rapidly, and the concept that I am the soul, the reality that I am the soul, I am not this body, will automatically manifest. So this is the power. So here, Srila Prabhupada is saying, realization is more important than parrot-like chanting. Many times, we all of us may not be having the skill to learn mridanga, kartal, singing. And then in ISKCON, if you see, especially in America, the American devotees, they spend lot of time, whole day, in learning harmonium, guitar, mridanga, kartal, and they are blessed with vocal singing abilities. Very melodious songs, very melodiously Hare Krishna they will sing. And you feel like hearing that hours and hours together. We will be thinking, I am not practicing. I can also do nice kirtan. But our authorities say, no, go out for preaching, do this, do that, administrative work. I am not able to spend time. I could have become such a good mridanga player. I could have preached by my kirtan. So one devotee was saying, Janavi Mataji is a very, famous YouTube celebrity. So he was saying, Prabhu, I can also become like her. So the point is, our aspirations are becoming a good singer than having more realization of Krishna consciousness. That realization will translate in our conduct, in our behavior, in our perspectives to see everything is Krishna. So I am not interested more in that. I am more interested in becoming a singer. Spend more time. So here, that's why Prabhupada is saying realization is more important. There is so much to realize. In Bhagavatam class, morning time, we realize some things. Daytime, everything is forgotten. So that kind of situation we are in. So how much we have to introspect, remember, reflect on all the points of Srimad-Bhagavatam throughout the day. So important. So realization is more important. So if I am really serious about spiritual advancement, Prabhupada said in one of the lectures, then I should always think death is next moment, Next moment, after Bhagavatam class, I'm going to die. But that realization will not come, that thought will not come. At least I'll have breakfast, nice prasadam. After Rajbhog, I can die. So next moment I will die. That consciousness should be, that drive should be there. So then there will be no hankering for becoming a big singer, becoming a good orator, becoming a big celebrity, etc., etc. I know I am going to die anyway. What is the use of all that? If Prabhupada wants, if authorities want, I'll become a good Mridanga player, spend lot of time. If Prabhupada doesn't want, I will not. What pleases Krishna is more hearing about him. Even the tendency to just to understand what is Krishna. That Paramatma, Krishna's Paramatma in the heart will sense and he will become very pleased. This devotee is very interested to hear about me. So in the flight yesterday, it got delayed while coming. 2.5 hours we are sitting thinking that flight will take off, which happened after 2.5 hours. And in the airport, the whole server is down for all the Indigo flights across India. So the crew had to manually figure out, give a ticket, write down, take out the slips, put it onto the bags. It was very tedious job. There itself, all the people were fried. In ISKCON language, we say, he got fried. So we are fried. So then we go to the security check and then sit in the flight. Again, people are fried because 2.5 hours they are waiting. Some people got so agitated, couldn't tolerate, started moving, 4 or 5 of them, to the entrance, caught hold of some crew and who are moving around, and there was a flight manager, started yelling, scolding, shouting like any top of the voice. We were all just wondering, what is so big problem? Can't you sit? They will tell, they are all working hard. It's not that they are going to take a decision. And then it became a very interesting scene for everybody. So most of them, as soon as they encounter such a situation, what will happen? Any guess? Everybody will open their mobile and start recording that. Because very interesting, very attractive. Somebody shouting, we get rasa, right? So I saw one lady was there in the front, started zooming exactly that person who was shouting and laughing and making all the drama there. And that became very interesting topic. Everybody started talking. If you talk about Shaunaka Rishi, Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj, nobody is interested. What catches the attention is all these kind of masala topics. If you see in the parliament, there are 2 opposition parties. One speaks so nicely that he crashed the logic of the opposition in the parliament. Everybody is so happy, so joyful. Yes, our leader made such a big statement. They hit like this. Hitting is that I agree with you. And all opposition party, they'll be sitting down what to argue. And then they will also come up with some argument. They will also tell something against this party. So that becomes such an interesting topic for people who want to view. Millions of views will get in YouTube and in news channel. And all these political debates, political issues, some other issue, there are 4 or 5 people shouting at something, this party, that party, this religion, that religion. So people are watching. See, the point is, everybody thinks, I'm not going to die. So that's why Prabhupada says, if you want to be materially happy, you should always think, what? I shall never die. Although it is a false idea. Every one of us will die. So if I want to be materially happy, I should think, I will never die, I'll be so happy. But if you want to spiritually progress, you should think, I will die next moment. Somebody who thinks, who understands, I'll die next moment, that person will be least interested in all these Gramya Katha. His mind, his consciousness will be thinking about how to serve, how to realize Krishna. He will not be worried. So there was one devotee who couldn't join the temple. He got married and then he had a kid and started serving in one of the temples. And then he started training some of the young boys who just finished his education, who also came to the temple, who started doing service. That boy joined the temple almost 5 years. He is there as a full-time brahmachari. Now the person who couldn't join, he was thinking, oh, this boy, he joined, I trained him in book distribution. He was a young boy, he was a bacha. I trained him in all that. Now, this person who couldn't join, he's supposed to report to the boy whom he trained in book distribution for all the services in the temple. He's not able to tolerate. This bacha, this small boy, he was a young boy, I trained him everything. Now I have to report to him. If I think next moment I am going to die, this kind of thought process will not hamper. So here Vyasadeva is hearing from his own son, Bhagavatam. So all the problems can be solved if I think I am going to die next moment. So that is a great realization. Parrot-like chanting, parrot-like practicing very fine mridanga with all the beats. This sound is not correct, Prabhu, while playing. Very fine, this should be like that, perfectness. Krishna is not wanting that kind of perfectness. Even though we can do it for the pleasure of Krishna and Prabhupada, what is required is bhakti, attitude of service. So realization is to develop that servitude attitude and progress in our spiritual life. So with that, I will stop. If anybody has anything to comment, suggest.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Actually, many times we hear that, yes, we should think that death is waiting at our door. Next moment we will die. But practically it is very difficult to even think of it. So, how to get actual realization of that point?
So Prabhupada gave that realization. Prabhupada told in the lecture, it is a reality. It looks, oh, I'm not going to die. Looks very real, but actually it is fake. How it is like that? You can see a lot of YouTube videos. I have seen in one video they have captured somebody was dancing on the stage. Within a matter of seconds, so I don't know what happened. Just fell down on the stage and died. Somebody was a doctor who was attending a patient. Suddenly there was a heart attack or something and he dies. There are so many videos like that. I don't know whether it is fake but it shows the life is so fragile, so unpredictable. I am walking on the street and vehicle may come and dash me and I may die. I am taking it for granted that nothing is going to happen. In front of me, when I was in Bangalore, I used to go to my college. I was about to cross the road. Two young girls, school girls, they just wanted to rush, and with great speed a lorry truck came in front of me, hit those two girls. They never ever thought that is their last day in their life. So like that, real incidences are there. I have not experienced that. People also have spoken about near-death experiences, NDE. You can hear. They are always careful. Sometime I am going to die like that. Because they were in the verge of death, but they got saved. You talk to them or see their videos, how they feel about. So, because we have forgotten that we died in our previous body, we are thinking body is growing, everything is happening nicely, we are getting food, we have shelter, things are going on. We have not sufficiently reflected about that. That is why we feel this is some utopian idea. No, this is not utopia. It is a reality, it is a fact. That is why Chanakya Pandit says that we have to be very, very careful. Death is any moment. So this is reality. That is why for that realization is important. If you have realization, then it is reality for me. If I don't have realization, if it is more of theory, absorbing theory every day, Srimad-Bhagavatam, chanting all the shlokas, I have not got sufficient realization. Still, how it is that, Prabhu? How it is that? I am still not able to reconcile, not able to absorb. So I have to wait for realization to be given by my spiritual master to realize that I am going to die, which is obvious. So the memory, if it is very sharp, so Shruti means by hearing, Vedic knowledge was transferred by one disciple to another disciple. Prabhupada gave an interesting incident which occurred in Calcutta 100 years back. There were Englishmen who were ruling the country, those Indian, and two Englishmen had a quarrel. So they went to a magistrate and they wanted some decision to be made by the magistrate. So one Englishman is saying he did that, he said this, another one is saying I didn't do. So they wanted a proof. All that happened near the Ganges river, and there was one Pandit who also heard all that what was going on between both of them. So he was called as a person to narrate what exactly happened there. He said, my dear magistrate, I don't know English. So, but he was so expert in hearing, he doesn't know what they spoke, but he remembered exactly what they spoke in English. He was able to repeat it as it is in front of the magistrate. And then magistrate took a note, and magistrate got what he wanted. He was able to decide, make a decision. So this is the power of memory, and Prabhupada said in that lecture where he narrated, he said, many people even remembered their past lives. Memory was so sharp. Today, memory is so dull. We are so dull-headed. We don't remember even a few days back what we ate. That is our position. Why it is like that? Why the memory has deteriorated? Anybody has any idea?
Because we are becoming godless.
Sorry?
Since we are becoming godless,
our habits, our eating habits, our living habits have drastically changed. We are what we eat. So we eat all those stuff which are not good for memory, brain, substance to improve. We will naturally become dull. So that is why our memory is shrinking now in Kali Yuga. So when we die, I never died in the previous life. Previous life didn't even exist. This is what our brain says today. So that's why we should take help of the Shastras to hammer. No, I am a soul. I am a spirit soul. I was in another body. I am going to get another body. This is a very, very special realization. Not anybody and everybody is able to get this. To understand one simple concept, I am not the body, I am soul, we would have taken years together. Because so much of dullness, tamoguna, is covering our consciousness. So it has to uncover means so much of sadhana, so much of service, so much of mercy, blessings have to come. It will not come so easily. It's not some cheap thing. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, devotees are very magnanimous. They take even death as a mercy of the Lord. But for the newcomers, how do we make them explain? Like Krishna says, I will protect, my devotees will not perish. But we see Akala Mrityu, like young devotees also die in accidents or some things. So how do we explain to the newcomers that Krishna protects and death also happens? How do we understand that?
So, Krishna comes as death for the non-devotees who voluntarily doesn't surrender to Krishna. For devotees, so now you see, the death is not only simply death. What happens after death is also very important. For a devotee, what happens after death? And for somebody who has not taken shelter of Krishna, what happens after death? That is the critical point. Now, if I don't surrender to Krishna, my karma, whatever is yet to come as prarabdha karma, it will result in a particular birth. I may get into some lower species or some higher species based on my punya, papa, karma, and life will go on. That is the biggest danger which Krishna says. Because after getting human form of life, if I am not intelligent enough to navigate into spiritual life and get out of the cycle of birth and death, it's a defeat in human form of life. Whereas a devotee, Krishna controls what happens to the devotee after death. So Krishna assures that the devotee will go back to Krishna and again he will not take birth in this material world. It doesn't matter how the devotee dies. Devotee dies out of cancer, devotee dies out of an accident. All those are not so important because Krishna is controlling. Devotee is not worried. Just like Parikshit Maharaj, he is not worried. Oh, only 7 days. I had so many things, other duties to do as an administrative officer, as an emperor. I have to write a will, I have to do this, I have to take out my bank balance, etc. He didn't plan all that. Just gave up everything and he went to the Ganges to ask questions. So, like that, devotee is welcoming death, whereas a non-devotee is fearful of death. Doesn't want to die because I am so attached to this particular body, I think I am this body. A devotee has come out of the conception that I am this body. He knows I am spirit soul. Whenever death wants to come, let it come. Happily I will encounter. Because he knows every day I am following whatever our spiritual master Srila Prabhupada has given me. I am assured that Krishna will take care. I am not so much worried. When death will come, what will happen to me, etc., etc. My only worry is, am I doing my duty nicely to please my spiritual master? That's all is a devotee's duty. So, but death is not a big factor for a devotee because he is already preparing for the final exam for the death. As a non-devotee is very tough. Struggle, so much of pain, agony, suffering. Devotee is happy, joyful. Oh, Prabhu, I am dying tomorrow. He will announce. Today itself I will give a feast. Tomorrow I am dying. So this is a happy situation. Because he knows I am saying bye-bye to this material world. I will not again take birth here. He is very happy. He knows this material world is like a toilet. Again I don't want to go back to the toilet. This is very happy. Joyful. So that's why Parikshit Maharaj is very happy seeing Shukadeva Goswami. Then Shaunaka Rishi is very happy seeing a pure devotee, Suta Goswami. So whenever a pure devotee sees another pure devotee, the symptom is they become very joyful. Because they know now they are going to get more instructions about Krishna, how to leave the body. So we are also very joyful, very happy. Prabhupada is there. Prabhupada today in the a quote Prabhupada was mentioning, if you are feeling too much separation from me, Prabhupada was telling to one of the disciples, you keep my photo and then you will get inspiration. So Prabhupada is here in the DT form. We are all so inspired. We can pay obeisances to Prabhupada, can talk to Prabhupada, we can offer our prayers, we can do service. What a great opportunity. So this is the devotees' realization. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki.